because I just can't wrap my mind around how people have gone as far as, I'm gonna drink my own urine and use it to cure myself. You want to bring back measles and polio and herpetogonosyphilis because you'd rather have a vegan, gluten-free, ethically bred, hypoallergenic kid, you know, who's like an unvaxxed heathen. Like, get up out of my face. Because if you're trying to tell me the urea cream that I've had to put on patients in the past is made up with urine, like, I'll go get these hands chopped off right now. Near-infrared saunas, coffee enemas for detox, hair mineral analysis, urine, fasting, semen retention, and meditation. Pseudoscience offers something that real science doesn't, though, and that's comfort. Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, I'm your host Hannah, and this is Under the Scrubs. Well, I got my first set of clubs, y'all. So, I'm officially a golf girly. Got a little outfit, got a little towel thing for my bag. Not sure why I need it, but I got it. Got a little glove. Again, not sure why I have it, but I got it. I don't know, Chris said I needed it. I got some neon pink glittery balls, so that way I don't have any rude boys trying to steal them from me like last time. And I think next time we go out golfing, I'm going to bring marshmallows to the course. So that way, if there is anybody mean to me, I'm just going to start throwing them. And now they're never going to find the ball ever again. China opened up its first AI hospital, and the first AI robot did a gallbladder removal from a dead pig. You already kind of get the gist of how I feel about AI, but like, I would be down for AI to do like my laundry and dishes. Oh, my surgery? Absolutely not. Also, not to brag, but, you know, may or may not be a cybersecurity threat to my current job, so watch out for me. I came in, I swear to God, with good intentions. I was trying to get some mental health resources for patients in case they ever needed it, and I did a sketchy CAPTCHA, and like halfway through, I was like, I don't think this is right. I don't like this, but I went through with it, and then it opened up a weird window, and then I exited it out, and then later on that night I got a text from my director that was like, hey, there was a potential cybersecurity breach from your account, so they had to, like, your IT had to change your password, you're just going to change it again. Oh man, I got locked out of my computer. The little nerd couldn't like remote in. I couldn't reset my password. I was a frequent flyer with IT that day. Not very proud of it. Actually really freaking embarrassed because also my manager was out, so it just was an absolute nightmare trying to navigate. Some pimple-faced 20-something-year-old kid showed up, swapped out my laptop as I've got Chris, my husband, in the, you know, on my phone trying to tell me like what to tell this kid to do, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell him anything because I'm so embarrassed. Well, I got a message from someone that was like, I got a Teams, if you will. I got a Teams from somebody that's like, now I have to go do like a cybersecurity education and meet with somebody from the incident management team. So pretty bummed about that. Not gonna lie. So yeah, the new job is going really well, as you can tell. I thought for this week's timeout, I think it's time, everyone. I think it's time we just start letting natural selection take hold, okay? Warning labels, take them off. Okay, speed limits through school zones, gone. Okay, maybe not that one, but like, I'm so sick and tired of seeing people on my internet. And yeah, it's my internet, right? Like, okay, there's like a TikTok video that I watched of this girl. She's a nurse, and like she's like referencing to like, you know, when you get like those pervy patients that are like completely independent and they like want you to wipe them, or they like want you to like, you know, hold their little peener and put it in the urinal, and you're like, no, you're independent, like you need to do it, right? So you can tell all the comments are like people who are in the medical field, and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, The nurse had like given a good way to like kind of like redirect that conversation. So people were like, hey, like that was a really good idea, or like, I'm gonna write that down, whatever. And like this one person, which I get it, you're trying to advocate for good patient care, pop off queen, but like you're not getting the context, and like you probably I don't know. Anyways, it was just like you just want to say shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up, girl. Shut up, random girl on the internet. That's like, if you don't want to take care of people, then don't be a nurse. No, I love taking care of people. I love it. I'll take care of you more than I'll take care of myself. But if you're a nasty little pervert and you want me to touch your dirty little peener and I just watched you adjust it, yeah, you can reach down there. You can hold it. You can use your urinal. Like, why? No, I'm not. Don't be sexualizing like the care that I give patients. That's creepy. That's gross. I don't come to your job and do it to you. Don't do it to me. So it just was like one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm just getting like really sick and tired of like seeing this kind of shit. Like, oh, you let your cat lick your wound because you thought it would heal your leg. All right, well, we're just going to do some thoughts and prayers over it and like see if that osteomyelitis either comes out on its own, or like maybe if your leg can self-amputate. My husband made a good point, not that I'd like tell him that to his face, that these people have always existed. It's just that the internet has given them a place to congregate, which, okay, yeah, I get that. But also now where do I go to congregate? Like, where do I go to watch funny hee videos for like 5 minutes and then go to bed? The fact that like I even want to delete social media because I can't stand to see it anymore. So then like, what am I supposed to do with all this time? At this point, I mean, you can just get me a flip phone and a digital camera, or you can send me a letter in the mail or by pigeon if you need to get a hold of me. I'm going to trade my car in for a horse. Not sure how they do in traffic or loud noises, but I bet gas mileage is better and maintenance is cheaper. We're just going to go old school, baby. Okay, so today's episode, I have to tell you, I struggled with this one. Yeah, so we're talking about urine therapy, but I think we're talking about urine therapy, but we're also tying in like pseudoscience, because I just can't wrap my mind around how people have gone as far as I'm going to drink my own urine and use it to cure myself. Like that leap to me, you have to be like anorexic rail thin because you have burned so many calories making that jump. Like to that conclusion, you know what I mean? Like that to me is so wild. I just can't wrap my head around it. But like I also work at the medical field. I trust science, and I can read a research article and know if it's good or not. So that being said, I have resources. I did watch some like YouTube videos, and I don't even want to call them resources because they're not great, right? But like American Urological Association and Frontiers in Psychology, they actually had a couple of like articles that I used. Like I said, I use like some things off of Facebook. It's just not, I just got a whole bunch of big emotions about this one, okay? I don't know why science tends to be so difficult to follow, why we are difficult to sometimes change our minds, or like to even like be open-minded enough to allow for like the possibility of change. I mean, we all know a person or two or several in the medical field or just in life in general that like do shit the same way because that's how it was done back then, right? In some circumstances, sure, like I get that, but in a lot of circumstances, shit's just different now, especially like in the medicine field. Like disease processes are more complicated. There's new diseases. You've got new treatments, new medications, new technology. I just hate hearing like, oh, well, back in the old day, they didn't have they didn't do XYZ. Like, yeah, okay, life expectancy was also like you're living to your 30s, and the chainsaw was originally invented to assist with childbirth. So are you saying you want to bring that back? Do you want to bring back measles and polio and herpetogonosyphilis because you'd rather have a vegan, gluten-free, ethically bred, hypoallergenic kid with a name spelled in such an insane way that, like, if they just so happen to cross paths with me or, like, my future kids, I'd immediately be calling my husband just so we can, like, talk shit about, like, that kid's name, who's, like, an unvaxxed heathen? Like, get up out of my face. I want to understand the thought process of like how we got to some of these insane therapies. And the reality is I probably never will like understand the thought process at least. Initially I was going to say like medical therapies, but ain't no medicine up in that bee, I'll tell you that. So yeah, urine therapy is the use of consuming or like applying topically your own urine. You can age it. Maybe invest in a nice oak barrel if you catch my drift. This is crazy because like I saw this quoted quite a bit, right? Book of Proverbs 5:15. Drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. And like I've seen that quoted quite a bit in like some of like these pages and groups for urine therapy. But that passage is actually more about the importance of like marital fidelity. But like somehow, somewhere, someone out there read that passage, took that little part of it and goes, nah, that means to drink your own urine. You know, I know there's sacred Hindu texts that are over 5,000 years old. It says that there's still therapies that are used today, like for asthma, arthritis, allergies, acne, cancer, indigestion, migraines, and oh boy, wrinkles. There's cultural and medical practices in Egypt, China, Thailand, and the Aztec Empire. They really kind of spoke about its use, which, hey, if it's cultural, I guess pop off, it's your culture. Now, medicinal, that's where we're going to have issues, right? Roman times, Pliny the Elder, he said he used it for treating sores, burns, two words that will hopefully never describe my weekend: anal afflictions, scorpion stings, and baby rash. You know, there was a really famous surgeon of the 16th century that advocated for its use for bathing itchy eyelids. In the 1500s, when Magellan was out there exploring, doing hot girl shit, and his crew ran out of water, and they're out there in the middle of the ocean, they did have to resort to drinking their own urine, which I'm like, okay, I'm 99% sure, like, that's, like, the only okay time to do it. And it's kind of crazy because, like, there's this article from the Journal of Urology, so, like, experts in this kind of thing, 2016, that was published, and they were like, yeah, there's, like, also medical products that have been obtained from urine and urea, like diuretics, fertility agents, and estrogens. And I was like, oh, hell no, I can't do this. I gotta look this up. Because if you're trying to tell me the urea cream that I've had to put on patients in the past is made up with urine, like, I'll go get these hands chopped off right now. I know a sketchy surgeon that's, if you probably offered him enough money and a nudie, he'd probably do it. For legal reasons, I'm joking. I don't want to ever want to get sued. But, you know, you start looking and you can see that, yeah, urea was discovered in the 1700s. They like boiled urine down and did a bunch of like filtering, waiting, and then like a recrystallization to get the urea out. But thank God for 1828, the German chemist Friedrich Wöhler found that you can get it synthetically by treating silver cyanate with ammonium chloride. So shout out to you, my guy. And I mean, technically urine is sterile, but once it leaves the body, it is considered contaminated. It's made up mostly of water, urea, uric acid, creatinine. There's like a slew of electrolytes, but mostly sodium chloride, which is salt, right? You don't want to be drinking a whole lot of salt. Phosphate, organic compounds. There's like only trace amounts of protein. Most of them are like albumin. And then there's just like random small little baby amounts of like hormones, glucose, and water soluble vitamins. So I started watching this YouTube video, and it says it's a TED Talk, but it looks like it's a TED Talk, right? And it's a guy who's like speaking up for urine therapy. And if you just did kind of a quick glance or like a half-assed listen, you might think like, wow, that's kind of crazy. TED Talk is allowing this. Some people, you know, with TED Talk, they might be like, there's truth to this because whatever, right? But once you like really start watching this video, okay, the speaker comes up, he doesn't give any credentials, don't know who this guy is, doesn't introduce himself, and then he just starts like jumping into it, right? Then you really start kind of like looking at the set that he's on, and you're like, okay, this looks like a college classroom setup. Then try and like kind of imitate like the big TED Talks, like, so they're trying to like closely align this video with like the OG TED Talks to make it look credible. So instead of like really having actual scientific evidence to support anything, like they're trying to attach that video to something credible with like these visual cues, right? So the speaker talks about how when he's a kid, he like got a cut on his leg and his uncle told him to pee on himself. Don't seek out medical help, which like what 10-year-old, probably wouldn't get excited about that. It's probably not the best advice. He goes on to talk about like the whole urinary system, how urine's made and the kidneys function and all that. And then he says like how like we're told that we pee out poisons and that's a myth and not the fact, which honestly, yeah, like, you do say that that the kidneys kind of like filter out toxins or that like that urine's like byproduct of toxins and stuff, right? But like how else are you describing stuff to the general public, right? When you go to school, you learn all this like higher education shit, you learn all these big ass words, and then when you're turned around and you're kind of set loose into like the teaching setting, so like in an office or in a hospital, whatever, like you can't use these words and this stuff in your teachings. You're kind of told essentially to educate on a 5th grade level. Even newspapers are written on like a 4th or 5th grade level. So that way you're kind of all inclusive. You're making sure that you're covering all different levels of like understanding. And you can gauge, from a patient how medically inclined they are. And like you can adjust your teaching based off of that. But like I've had patients that require really basic teaching because like maybe they have a new diagnosis and everything is so new and it's so overwhelming that they can barely take new information in, but your teaching's got to be done, so you gotta have to come at it at like a really basic level. So I understand like we pee out toxins or we pee out poisons, but like how do you tell people like, oh yeah, you pee out albumin and like all this other stuff, and they're gonna be like, what the hell is that? And it's like, well, now you gotta explain what albumin is. So it just, to save yourself the time, you're just gonna use toxins or whatever, right? So anyway, this guy goes on about how he starts experimenting more with urine therapy and he cures his dandruff. And I'm not gonna lie, like listening to him talk about drinking his own urine, I wanted to vomit. No. Okay, I thought like anything that came out of the mouth was my cutoff. It might be actually urine. And like you start reading the comments that people have left on the video, and like every single ad, okay, first off, every single ad on the video is like some AI thing that's talking about either like scraping your ear with a spoon to stop tinnitus or like some kind of salt trick for nerve pain, because nerve pain's not actually, I don't know, I just skipped it. Okay. So that already doesn't get your spidey senses up thinking like, okay, something's not quite right. Maybe with like this video, if these are the ads that are showing, I don't know what will. Okay. But the amount of people who have endorsed urine therapy saying like, that's how, it cured all these issues. There's one person on there that's saying it cured a lung problem in a friend that they were told that they'd have 1 to 3 years left to live. They learned about urine therapy, and so within a month of that, he was totally cured and able to run for the first time in 5 years. And so, I got a lot of questions about that. What do you mean lung problem? Why did they only have 1 to 3 years left to live? Was it COPD? Was it emphysema? Was it cancer? Like, I got a lot of questions about that. So I don't really care for that. Okay. I got onto a Facebook group. I requested to join it last week. Oh boy. I thought I was going to leave it as soon as the episode was recorded, 'cause like, I just can't handle seeing this bullshit on my feed. I got to the point, I kind of abandoned the group like as I was doing my research, right? You've got one person in there asking like, does urine therapy treat hypertension or like high blood pressure? And so like some guy chimes in that, he's a few years into like his therapy and that his primary care says that he's got like the blood pressure for a 20-year-old and that he takes no prescriptions or no vaccines. Not sure what vaccines we're giving for blood pressure these days, because we're definitely not giving them at my clinic. And it was crazy to my surprise, I see another nurse on there, right? Like it's in her name, but it's not like she's doing recon like me. No, she's like offering advice on urine therapy. And I'm like, sis, you gotta get the hell up out of here. Oh my God. There was someone on there saying that like human bodies, are not just simple detox units, that the kidney filtration system is not about dumping waste, but maintaining pressure, volume, and life. Okay, so then explain to me renal failure. Then why do these patients that have renal failure have a buildup of all this like excessive stuff and like can make them really sick and kill them? I would really love to hear renal failure from her perspective. There was someone that posted in there anonymously, and I mean, it was a good question. It wasn't like accusatory. It wasn't, they were asking, I'm guessing it was a man. He asked, like, what makes urine so beneficial health wise? I'm going to go ahead and let you guess if anyone actually provided real life medical studies. No one did. And there was some people that were already kind of defensive, being like, no, you need to like look it up. You need to do the research. But like, I don't blame him, because this is somebody that's just asking a simple question. Like, what is it that makes it so beneficial? From what I'm reading, there was like a really big emphasis on what you eat, and that's like the quality of your urine. So maybe that's actually kind of what's making people feel better, right? Like, no one actually offers evidence-based education. There's no like actual research articles, no peer-reviewed journals, nothing. It's just either refers to like people that have done it historically for years, or they shared like it's just good for you. There's even, oh God, there was someone on there that said that they're part of a urine sharing group and that they're really benefiting from DNA in each other's urine. That's, oh God. What's wild is that like how many people that were also in there are like anti-vax, like anti-COVID vax, and like, they were like hating on Google being a research tool, right? And I'm like, saying that instead, you need to read other people's books and posts and websites that are done by somebody with zero credentials that like could have been written by my neighbor. Like, how is that? Like, no, I'm going to use Google and I'm going to go to like this peer-reviewed journal, like that, like that's an expert. I don't freaking know who like any of these other authors are. They have no credentials. They've got no like formal education. Like, how is that supposed to like help me? At that point, you basically just have like a Facebook, I don't want to say book, but like, you know what I mean? Like, like that to me is just absolutely insanity. So the last post before I had to leave the group, there was someone asking that if urine therapy can be used for schizophrenia or psychosis. And there was commenters saying that niacin will help it. Someone else said accountability and responsibility are the main points. You can add urine as a part of it to help. This one's probably my favorite. It says near infrared saunas, coffee enemas for detox, hair mineral analysis, urine, fasting, semen retention, and meditation. Oh my God, the last guy to chime in says that it's mold and fungus and yeast and metal all working together, overtaking the brain systems. I wasn't aware there was more than one. I had to leave the group. At this point, I kind of abandoned my research on urine therapy, because I was just even trying to like understand how did we get here, because there's really nothing unless you want to read a book by a random freaking person. And I am not that invested into it to like want to spend my money on that. Like, no, pseudoscience just blows my mind. So I just really started to kind of turn and look into like how people become susceptible to this kind of stuff. So there was like a research paper that looks into like the relation between dispositions toward conspiracy theories and like 3 different cognitive styles of thinking: analytic thinking, critical thinking, and scientific reasoning. The extensive literary research suggested that conspiracy theories might result from lack of each of these cognitive styles. The propaganda of like misinformation is really how pseudoscience grows and just kind of becomes a phenomenon from there. Pseudoscience like astrology or parapsychology spread because, like, to an extent, yeah, they are counterintuitive. We all know that stars and planets don't affect our lives so casually from the amount of distance away. It can spread because it seems intuitively appealing. Some people might come to accept counterintuitive pseudoscientific claims because, they might trust the source. They might be convinced by some other reasons that are offered, or they are helped by these beliefs to kind of reduce stress and anxiety. So pseudo experts really piggyback on well-deserved reputations of actual experts to kind of help create the illusion of I know what I'm doing and I'm talking about. I mean, this really causes harm as they spread misinformation, but it also undermines the people's trust in real life experts. Pseudoscience offers something that real science doesn't, though, and that's comfort. With pseudoscience, it offers a certainty in a big scary world where certainty is not a given. It gives people someone to blame and point a finger at, and it actually can provide kind of a sense of belonging. Science itself is probably the most powerful tool we have for understanding the world, solving problems, and making life better for everyone. So when science is attacked, it really should feel like an attack on society. I mean, we are born into an era where we have education and libraries, universities, the internet. There's old data that can help us point in a different direction for research, new technology. I mean, resources that really shape who we are today. With that level of education and resource, we also have the responsibility as well to find truth, to debunk misinformation, and help others develop that mindset and do the same. I just couldn't imagine believing every little thing I see on the internet or hear from people and then just regurgitating that information as if it's the truth. And then for me, it kind of makes sense, right? Because if you meet somebody who challenges that and is able to provide actual rationale as to why you are incorrect, I mean, yeah, you would get defensive. But isn't that what being open-minded maybe got you into pseudoscience at first? Okay, I am the first one to sign up to hear a good conspiracy theory. I love it. I'll tell you my favorite one about Helen Keller all day. But even that one that I love to share is based off of science. It's off of what we know about the feral child genie, or quote unquote feral child. She taught us so much about development in children and reaching those milestones, what happens when they don't, how is the rehabilitation process in it? Is it even possible? Just really a lot about abnormal child psychology. Is there lizard people living under the Denver International Airport or a secret bunker to house the elite should we fall into a nuclear war? Maybe, probably not, but regale me with your story anyways. Were people trafficking children on Wayfair.com through advertising these plain Jane dressers or furniture for tens of thousands of dollars and they were named like human names? That one honestly kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm really hoping it wasn't true, but you never know these days. In the void of trust, pseudoscience really thrives there. A professor of social psychology, Karen Douglas, she works at the University of Kent, and she specializes in social psychology and the belief in conspiracy theories. And she said that the lack of trust is a core aspect of pseudoscience. Conspiracy theories aren't just an offshoot from mistrust, but it also really creates it. The more people that join, the deeper the suspicion grows, and then that paranoia is just fed and nurtured. And now you have this massive group, and you're kind of surrounded by like-minded individuals that are just reinforcing that idea that the experts can't be trusted. Information is typically cherry-picked. You only look at certain bits of data, because if you looked at the whole thing, your theory would kind of crumble. And it instills this feeling of, if you believe in this, you're one of the few correct people. So of course, people are going to see that and they're going to be like, oh yeah, no, I want to be correct. I don't want to be wrong. You look at the whole, I'm not going to be a sheep thing during COVID. Oh my God, the bandwagoners who jumped on. It's just really a steep, slippery slope. Really, in the first time ever, we as a society have the choice to pick whatever narrative we want to believe. If you ask a question and that answer doesn't strike you as correct or you don't like it, you can go search for a different answer, damned if it's right or wrong. And then you can choose to follow that narrative. Alternative medicine movements really thrive because it's empowering people to take control of their health. And even if the treatments don't have actual science to back up data, in reality, you always have control of your health. You have the ability to seek second opinions, to say no to treatments or to medications. I know my mom's doctor, years ago told her, hey, take a statin medication. And my mom was like, no, I'm just going to eat healthier and lose weight. And now she's good. Doesn't even have to, doesn't have to take it. Hasn't been suggested to her. Not that she ever started it, but you know what I mean? There's options you can go through instead of just taking a pill. And so I think there's definitely two ways to go about it, right? A lot of times too, our genetics come into play, especially with cardiac stuff. Cardiology is very genetic heavy. We learned last week dementia is very genetic as well, at least with that, the apolipoprotein. But I promise you, your doctor's not sitting in his office or her office waiting for your appointment thinking, what kind of poison can I give to my patient, or how much money can I get out of them? The conspiracy belief is strongly related to a lack of socio-political control or a lack of psychological empowerment. That belief is heightened when people feel that they can't control outcomes, and it's reduced when their sense of control is affirmed. By buying into pseudoscience or a pseudoscientific trend, it's a way to satisfy that feeling of wanting to belong and having a positive image of yourself and what they're thinking is quote unquote the in group. It also gives that person an outlet to blame, whatever, for negative outcomes. And I get wanting that comfort that pseudoscience probably provides. I guess I can share some advice I got from my therapist years ago. Just sit with that uncomfortableness. It's not going to kill you. Look at it with the curiosity of what are you trying to teach me or tell me? If you have anxiety, I used to have this flow sheet. Man, I still wish I had it. But step one was do you have concrete evidence of this thing that's giving you anxiety? And I always had to stop there. I was because no, I never had concrete evidence. It's a feeling, Looking more into psychology behind pseudoscience and why people buy into it has helped me at times. I think sometimes I still feel a little jaded or a little annoyed, but it's helped me become more aware of that bias and try to read past whatever crazy shit that they're trying to tell me, right? I know I tend to bristle up when people talk about COVID and someone says that, oh, well, it wasn't that bad because I got sick and I didn't die. And then all I can sit there and think about is calling people and being hey, your loved ones died. And then hearing them scream and cry into the phone. Codes that you would run with 4 people because they were running code blues somewhere else on the other floors. And so we don't have the people to really run one properly. The time we had to go into a lockdown because there was a small group of people protesting outside the hospital threatening to shoot up the ICU because COVID wasn't real. You just run through the shit that you've been through and think yeah, maybe it wasn't bad for you, but that doesn't mean that everybody else was fine. You want to drink urine? Fine by me. What I'm reading, though, is that, you are changing your diets. You're not smoking or consuming nicotine or alcohol. You're getting sunshine. You're probably getting exercise and being healthy. Pop off, kings and queens. Boots down the house, mama. Love to hear it. I'm going to try to block out the part where you mention the urine thing, but, you get my point. I'm trying to be softer as I get older. I want to be more empathetic. I'm working on it. I'm debating on either deleting social media as a whole or limiting it significantly more, just to protect my own peace. It's been a drain emotionally seeing pseudoscience. Not gonna lie, I've just been reporting it as hate speech every time just to be a dick. But like I said, I'm working on it, okay? Something, though, that I want to cover next week is organ donation, a topic that does deserve sensitivity and high honor considering that's the top gift that you can give. New York Times put out an article that was pretty irresponsibly done. Basically, it kind of makes it sound like hospitals are just waiting for patients to come in sick and then trying to kill them off to harvest their organs. So now there are people who didn't really look into this topic further, just kind of took what New York Times said, turned around, regurgitated the story as truth, and I figured, you know what? I got time. I'm actually going to address it. I've taken care of numerous organ donors. I've been in a handful of procurements. It's an incredible process. It's quite the juxtaposition of emotions as one life comes to an end. There's dozens that are being saved. I mean, it's an honor to even bear witness to that greatest gift ever. I'm trying to get in touch with someone who does like coordination for organ procurement. It'd be interesting to kind of hear, their side on it. So hopefully that will be next Tuesday. Either way, I'll be talking about organ procurement. I'm just hoping that I can like actually get in touch with somebody that also does it. So until then, don't forget to subscribe. I need to update my Instagram, but I have one for the podcast. I don't want to talk about it. At Under the Scrubs podcast. And then also turn on automatic downloads so you don't miss an episode. Until next time, okay, love you, bye.